Gama Partha Nainato Jupapatate Kudram Ridaya Durvalang Takta Tishta Param Tapa.
Can you scroll up, Prabhuji?
Oh, sorry. Yes. Sorry. Thank you. What are you on 3? I was trying to do something else here. Are you on 3 or 4?
On 3, Prabhuji.
Okay. Thank you.
O son of Partha, do not yield to this degrading importance. It does not become you. Give up such petty weakness of heart and arise, O chastiser of the enemy.
Number 4. Arjuna Bacha Kathang Bhisha Mahang Shankhe Dronancha Madhusudana Ishovi Pratijatshami Ujahapa Rishi Shudan.
Arjuna said, O killer of enemies, O killer of Madhu, how can I counterattack with arrows in battle men like Bhishma and Drona, who are worthy of my worship?
Number 5. Guru Nahata hi bhavan bhavan Sreya bhuktang bhakshamapi holoke Attatu kamangstu guru nahaiva Bhunjiya bhogang rudira pratitam.
It would be better to live in this world by begging than to live at the cost of the lives of great souls who are my teachers. Even though desiring worldly gain, they are superiors. If they're killed, everything we enjoy will be tainted with blood.
Number 6. Na chaidat pitta kataran. Na, sorry. Na chaita pitta kataran goriyo. Yada jayema jadiba na jayu. Yane bahattana jijibisham. Seo bastita pramukte dhaturashta.
Nor do we know which is better, conquering them or being conquered by them. If we kill the sons of Dhritarashtra, we should not care to live. Yet they are now standing before us on the battlefield.
Number 7. Karpanna dosha patahasha bhava prichami tang dharma sangmura cheta jache shanni chitang brahmitan me shishyaste hangshadimang tang prapannam.
Now I'm confused about my duty and have lost all composure because of miserly weakness. In this condition, I'm asking you to tell me for certain what is best for me. Now I'm your disciple and a soul surrender unto you. Please instruct me.
Number 8. Nahi prapashami ma panudat yachokamucha shanmindriyanam abhapa vashapatnamriddhang rajyan shurunnapi chadipatam.
I can find no means to drive away this grief, which is drying up my senses. I will not be able to dispel it, even if I win a prosperous, unrivaled kingdom on earth with sovereignty like the demigods in heaven.
Number 9. Sanjay Vacha Eva Mukta Rishikeshang Gurakesha Param Tapaha Najutsa Iti Govinda Mukta Tushni Babubha.
Sanjaya said, having spoken thus, Arjuna, chastiser of enemies, told Krishna, Govinda, I shall not fight, and fell silent.
Number 10. Tamubacha Rishikesha Prahoshanniva Bhadata Shenairu Bhavayra Madhe Vishidanta Minang Bachaha.
O descendant of Bharata, At that time, Krishna, smiling in the midst of both the armies, spoke the following words to the grief-stricken Arjuna.
Number 11. Sri Bhagavan Vacha Ashuchanana Shochastang Praggapadang Shubhayashe Gatashu na Gatashungshu Nanu Shuchanti Panditaha.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, while speaking learned words, you are mourning for what is not worthy of grief. Those who are wise lament neither for the living nor for the dead.
Number 12. Na te bahang jatu nashang nanatang na me janadipa na chaiva bhavisham sharbe vayomata param.
Never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings, nor in the future shall any one of us cease to be.
Number 13. Dehinasmin jatha dehe kaumaram jauvanam jara tatha dehantara prapti dhirastrata namayate.
As the embodied soul continuously passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. A sober person is not bewildered by such a change.
Number 14. Matra sparsha kanteya shitashna shukhadukada agamo payino nittang samstitista bharata.
Shobna, when we can't hear you. Hare Krishna. Shobna Mataji, is there a problem on your side, perhaps on audio?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. I'm sorry, I've got a program.
Okay. Are you able to continue?
Yes, I can. Sorry, I can recite now.
Okay.
What?
Number 14 I've just done.
So 15 for you.
Sorry.
Sorry, 14 translation in you, yeah.
Yeah, translation of 14.
14. Sorry about this.
No problem.
O son of Kunti, the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress and the disappearance in due course are like the appearance and disappearance of winter and summer seasons. They arise from sense perception or skin of Bharata, and one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed.
Number 15. Yang hina bathayante purushang purusha shava shama dukkha sukhang dhirang shoho mrita taya kalpate.
O best among men, Arjuna, the person who is not disturbed by happiness and distress and is steady in both is certainly eligible for liberation.
Number 16. Nashoto vittate bhava na bhava vittate shatang ubhayrupi drishtahan stanasto darshibhi.
Those who are seers of the truth have concluded that of the non-existent, the material body, there is no endurance, and of the eternal, the soul, there is no change. This they have concluded by studying the nature of both.
Number 17. Avinashi tu tat vidhi yeno sarvamidang tatam vinashaya vayoshasya nakushchit kurtumohati.
That which pervades the entire body, you should know to be indestructible. No one is able to destroy that imperishable soul.
Number 18. Antavanta ime deha nitya shukta sharirena anashino ho prameyasya tasmat yuddhasya bharata.
The material body of the indestructible, immeasurable, and eternal living entity is sure to come to an end. Therefore, fight, O descendant of Bharata.
Number 19. Ye enang vitihantarang nashchainang mannate hatam uvaito vijinito nayang hanti nahannate.
Neither he who thinks the living entity the slayer, nor he who thinks it is slain is in knowledge, for the self slays not, nor is slain.
Number 20. Najayate mriyate va kadachit nayang bhutaho bhavitaba na bhuya ajo nitang shashvatoham purana nahannate hannamane sharire.
For the soul, there is neither birth nor death at any time. He has not come into being, does not come into being, and will not come into being. He is unborn, eternal, ever existing, and primeval. He is not slain when the body is slain.
Number 21. Veda vinashinang nitta yo ena javapayam kathang sha purusho partha kanghata yati hantikam.
O Partha, how can a person who knows that the person is indestructible, eternal, unborn, and immutable kill anyone or cause anyone to kill?
Number 22. Vashang shijirnani jatha vihaya navani grinhati naraho parani tatha sharirani vihaya jirnani na annani shangjati navani dehi.
As a person puts on new garments, giving up old ones, the soul similarly accepts new material bodies, giving up the old and useless ones.
Number 23. Nainang chindanti shastrani nainang dahuti pavakaha nachainang klidayantopo na shoshayoti marutaha.
The soul can never be cut into pieces by any weapon, nor burnt by fire, nor moistened by water, nor withered by the wind.
Number 24. This one I'm going to find it very difficult to say. Please forgive me. Number 24. Acheda dahuma daho hayoma kleda shosya evacha nitya sharva gata sthanu rojo hayong shanatanaha.
This individual soul is unbreakable and insoluble and can neither be burnt nor dried. He is everlasting, present everywhere, unchangeable, immovable, and eternally the same.
Hare Krishna, please forgive all my mistakes I made because I found these verses very difficult because that's so big and I found it as if my teeth was going to come. Sorry.
No,
Hare
no.
Krishna.
Yeah, overall, you did quite well. Your pronunciation was fine. I think the only time you got into a little bit of trouble was when the meter was wrong.
Yes.
So, yeah, so that's quite normal actually. When I start reading verse, if the meter is wrong, we can't do it right.
Yes, sometimes we are going like this, and then sometimes we have to change the meter, and that's when the mind, or I don't know how it happens. It's just
happens quite common. No, but
sorry, very sorry.
Thank you, and Shobhana Mataji, thank you so much. Very, very nicely recited
I'm so sorry for losing my voice. I'm sorry, Prabhuji and all devotees.
No problem at all. It was a very small disruption, nothing very big. So thank you so much for recovering from that very quickly. Hare Krishna. Very nice.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, so we'll I'll just share my other screen. Let me just on that and okay. Okay, let me just rearrange a few things that I need to sort out here. Give me a second. Okay, done. Right, are you all seeing the screen?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Great, okay. We start now. So we are continuing reading chapter 2, Bhagavad Gita, contents of the Gita summarized, Sankhya Yoga. We will go start off as usual with the chapter summary. So far, so from text 1 to 10, Arjun continued from the first chapter when he was still telling Krishna about all the reasons why he should not fight. And then in text 7, we heard Krishna surrendering, sorry, Arjun surrendering to Krishna rather. And then after that, Krishna spoke a verse or two, and then Arjun spoke a bit more. But now, really from around the text 11, I think, Krishna starts to speak the Bhagavad Gita. So this text 11 to 30 is called the Jnana section. And we are on text 16 today. So we will recite that. And before that, I'll just do the invocation mantras. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, text 16. Na sato vidyate bhavo, na bhavo vidyate satah. Upayorapi drishtantas vanayos tattvadarshibhi. Those who are seers of the truth have concluded that the non-existent, the material body, that of the non-existent, the material body, there is no endurance. And of the eternal, the soul, there is no change. This they have concluded by studying the nature of both. Before we go on to the purport, I just have a look at the text quickly. I think it's quite straightforward. The last line can be a little bit tricky because it is Tva ananyos tattvadarshibhi, but we don't pronounce Tva. We go actually, you mix the two words together. So it actually goes into one word like Tvanayos, because if you pronounce Tva ananyos, then the meter will be out. But that's the only thing I can think of. And we'll come back to it if there's any more. Purport. So there's 2 pages of the purport. Let me see who I can. Normally I pick people from the first who appear on the screen, but let me go lower down and see. Okay, Smita Mataji, perhaps you can read this first page.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Smita Mataji.
There is no endurance of the changing body, that the body is changing every moment by the actions and reactions of the different cells is admitted by modern medical science, and thus growth and old age are taking place in the body. But the spirit soul exists permanently remaining the same despite all changes of the body and the mind. That is the difference between matter and spirit. By nature, the body is ever changing and the soul is eternal. This conclusion is established by all classes of seers of the truth, both and personal. In the Vishnu Purana, it is stated that the Vishnu and his abodes all have self-illuminated spiritual existence. Jyoti Rishi Si Vishnu Bhuvanani Vishnu. The words existent and non-existent refer only to spirit, and that is the version of the all seers of truth.
Thank you, Smita Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. And next page, if I can please request Surabhi Mataji. Surabhi Mataji, were you able to unmute?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
This is the beginning of the instruction by the Lord to the living entities who are bewildered by the influence of ignorance. Removal of ignorance involves the re-establishment of the eternal relationship between the worshipper and the worshipable, and the consequent understanding of the difference between the part and parcel living entities and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One can understand the nature of the Supreme by thorough study of oneself. The difference between oneself and the Supreme Being, understood as the relationship between the part and the whole. In the Vedanta Sutras, as well as in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Supreme has been accepted as the origin of all emanations. Such emanations are experienced by superior and inferior natural sequences. The living entities belong to the superior nature, as it will be revealed in the 7th chapter. Although there is no difference between the energy and the energetic is accepted as the supreme, okay? And the energy or nature is accepted as the subordinate. The living entities, therefore, are always subordinate to the Supreme Lord, as in the case of the master and the servant, or the teacher and the taught. Such clear knowledge is impossible to understand under the spell of ignorance. And to drive away such ignorance, the Lord teaches the Bhagavad Gita for the enlightenment of all living entities for all the time. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Surabhi Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Wonderful. Okay. Prabhupada ki jai. Om Ajnanati Mirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Charu Swami Niti Namine Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatade Chatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you. So we'll just, as usual, we'll go into the purport and take some parts of the purport and churn the nectar. So Prabhupada starts off by saying that the body is changing every moment by the actions and reactions of different cells. Okay, that is admitted by modern medical science, and thus growth and old age are taking place in the body. So this concept of changing the body, we've covered many times again, but it's such an important concept that we shall also just spend a little bit of time, just a quick recap on that. So there are mainly 6 types of transformations of the body that Shastras speak of. And although we've covered it before, let's see who, okay, instead of everybody shouting out at the same time, let's see somebody can name all 6 of them. If you can put your hand up or just unmute and speak all 6 if you can. There's got to be somebody who can do it.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes, Krishnavani Mataji, please.
You know, like, is it like you take birth and then you grow? Yeah.
Yes,
Growth,
yes, that one.
and then you just stay for a while. Then you produce byproduct. Then
Yes.
you dwindle and then you die.
Perfect, perfect. You got them all in the right order as well. So we
Thank
take birth, and that is called Jayate. Then remains for some time, which is called Asti. Grows, which is called Vardhate. Produces some effects, which is called Viparinimate. Gradually dwindles, which is called Apakshyate. And then vanishes, which means Minashyati. So this fact that the body is changing, it seems like one sort of body which is changing and is remaining the same, just getting bigger or more wrinklier or whatever. But actually, as we know, Prabhupada also says in the purport that even medical science agrees that actually our body is changing. And here's a quote from the Stanford University. It says, according to researchers, the body replaces itself with a largely new set of cells every 7 to 10 years. And some of our most important parts are revamped even more rapidly. So you see, also confirmed by science that the body that we had when we were children, it doesn't exist anymore. Having said that, he says here largely meaning, of course, there probably are some parts which will be there, like, you know, as we know, our skin, the skin cells are replaced regularly. But I was thinking earlier, if everything is replaced, then if there's a scar I had on my leg from some injury I had when I was a child, how come that scar is still remaining? So obviously the thing is that scar is not gone, that scar is still there. So some parts of that of the body are still there, but largely, let's say here. So largely all the cells are being replaced every 7 to 10 years, some longer, some shorter. So that's fact number 1. But then Prabhupada says in the purport that the spirit soul exists permanently, remaining the same despite all the changes. So no matter how old the body is getting, the soul does not change. The soul remains the same because the soul does not have age. It doesn't have birth. It doesn't have death, as we will cover in some of the beautiful verses coming up soon. So soul remains constant. And Prabhupada then says that the conclusion is established by classes of seers of truth, both impersonalists and personalists. So this fact about the fact that the soul is permanent and the body is impermanent is accepted by both. Although the impersonalists have a different philosophy to ours, they also accept this basic fact, which most Asian or Eastern religions would have this as the foundation. Moving on, Prabhupada says this is the beginning of the instruction by the Lord to the living entities who are bewildered by the influence of ignorance. So we are all under the influence of ignorance, and the living entity is bewildered, and we identify ourselves with the body or the mind. The living entity has 4 defects, which are mentioned. Which are the 4 defects that all the living entities have? Anybody?
Making mistakes.
Bhavani Ben, can you repeat that?
Making mistakes.
Making mistakes is 1.
Cheating.
Imperfect senses.
We are
Yeah.
under illusion.
Yes, you got them all. All 4 of you got four separate ones, which is great. So the defects are that we are all illusioned, which is the subject matter of this what we're talking about now. Our senses are imperfect. We're prone to make mistakes, and we have the propensity to cheat and be cheated. They say, right? That all the cheaters are there because they're people who want to be cheated. So there's two kinds of ignorance, two kinds of illusions, broadly speaking, and they're described as identifying with matter. That's the first illusion. And then the other illusion, which is the Mayavadis have, is identifying oneself as God. Mayavadis, as we all know, the Mayavadi philosophy is that we are actually the same. Our soul is the same as the Lord himself. At the moment, we're covered by Maya. By practice and by doing penances and austerities, once we lose this covering of Maya, then we will regain our true identity, which means we are nothing but the Lord. We are God himself. So this is another illusion. So the removal of ignorance, what does it involve? Correct understanding of the difference between the part and parcel living entities and the Supreme Lord. So this understanding we must have. There's a text in 15th chapter.
Is that relationship with re-establish the relationship or something?
Yeah, that text is literally talking about the difference between the Lords. And Lord talks about the fact that living entity is part and parcels. Anybody know that verse? 15:7.
Is it the understanding of duality?
Not
once said
Yes, yes. Prabhavati Mataji, can you complete the verse?
Mamevamsho jivaloke jivabhutah sanatanaha manashastra indriyani prakritistani karshyati.
Wonderful, thank you. Do you know the English translation?
Not completely, Prabhuji, but I can try.
Just give the meaning, that's fine.
I think the living entity is in this conditioned world is a eternal fragmental part of the Lord, and due to this conditioned life, they struggle very hard with the six senses, which includes the mind.
Wonderful, you actually got it almost word to word. Very nice, thank you. So that's perfect. So that's what we're talking about. Correct understanding is we have to understand that particular concept, that we are actually part and parcels, and eternally, that's the important word, Sanatan. Eternally, we are part and parcels of them. So that is how, to remove the ignorance, we need to first know that. If we don't believe that we are part and parcels of the Lord, then we can't start. If we think that we are the Lord, we're never going to be out of ignorance, right? Then second part of that removing ignorance is to reestablish the eternal relationship of the worshipper and the worshipable. And that relationship is in one word.
Is it bhakti?
Bhakti or service, yes. Devotional service, two words actually. Two words. So yes. So we have to first of all know that we are part and parcels of the Lord. We're not the Lord himself. And our duty as the jiva is to always serve the Lord, to always worship the Lord. You always be engaged in devotional service of the Lord. So jiva is Swarupa Hare Krishna, Nitya Krishna Das, as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Krishna Tattva Shakti Bheda Bhedavash. So we are all eternally his servants, and we need to. So once we know these two facts, then it's the beginning, not complete removal, but beginning of the removing of our instructions. We need to understand that we are the servants. Not just that, we need to understand that the Lord is Vibhu and we are Anu. The Lord is limitless, and we are a tiny, tiny particle of that Lord. Just like Bhattacharya Maharaj would always give the example, the Prabhupada also actually says that, for example, this finger is part and parcel of my body, but the duty of this finger is to serve the body. The finger is not independent. Similarly, we are like that. We are part and parcels of the Lord, and our duty is to serve the Lord. Prabhupada said, no death for the soul and no endurance for the body, the text says. So clear knowledge of this helps us to avoid lamentation on a bodily platform. You see, once we realize this, that we are separate, we are actually a permanent part and parcel of the Lord, and this body is only temporary. We have gone through many, many millions of these bodies before, and this is one other sojourn like that. Once we know that, then we are able to understand, tolerate, and not be bewildered by circumstances. We avoid lamentation. So a direct message to Arjuna in this particular verse is that the Kauravas cannot escape death even if you do not fight. If you don't kill them, it's not going to matter because they're going to die. If not now, a little while later, they will die. But having said that, Krishna actually does say that they will die. And this is actually explained in the 11th chapter, text 32, Shri Bhagavan Uvacha, Kalosmin Loka Kshayakrit Pravaddo Lokan Samahartum Iha Pravattaha Vitepi Tvam Na Bhavishyanti Sarve Yeva Stitah Pratinikeshu Yoda. The Supreme Personality of God has said, time I am the great destroyer of the worlds, and I have come here to destroy all people. With the exception of you, the Pandavas, all the soldiers here on both sides will be slain. So this is going to happen. The Lord says this is just going to happen anyway, whether you fight or not. Because Paritranaya Sadhunam Vinashaya Dusritam, I've come to perform my duty, to get rid of all the miscreants from this world. And this is why I have arranged this Kurukshetra war, so I can get rid of all these. Now, do you want to become a part of this or out of it? Up to you. That's the point. The purport, this is part of the purport of 1132. Krishna says, except for a few Pandavas, anyone who was present on that battlefield would be devoured by him. Arjuna was not in favor of the fight, and he thought that it was better not to fight. Then there would be no frustration. In reply, the Lord is saying that even if he did not fight, every one of them would be destroyed. For that was his plan. If Arjuna stopped fighting, they would die in another way. That could not be checked, even if he did not fight. In fact, they were already dead. Time is destruction, and all manifestations are to be vanquished by the desire of the Supreme Lord. That is the law of nature. So the time factor destroys everything. Absolutely everything material will be destroyed by time factor. That we need to understand fully. And then he says in the Vedanta Sutra, as well as in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Supreme has been accepted as the origin of all emanations. It's a beautiful verse, Bhagavatam 1:1:1. So it's the first word of Srimad Bhagavatam, and it's also explained that the Vedanta Sutra begins with this aphorism. And I know that anybody who has done Bhakti Vaibhav, anybody on this, I know that Palika Mataji was Bhakti Vaibhav. Anybody else who was in that class? Ajay Mukunda-Hari was there. No, I can't think of anybody else. So can one of you recite this verse, 1:1:11? Oh, sorry, 1:1:1. If not, you'll have to hear me recite it. Okay, time is running away. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Janmadyasya Janmadyasya Yato Nvaya. I lost the meter. Janmadyasya Yato Noyadi Parasas Chateswa Bigna Swarat Tene Brahma Ridaya Adi Kavaya Muhyanti Yatsuraya Tejo Vari Midam Yata Vinimayo Yatra Tri Sargo Mrisha Ramna Svena Sada Nirasta Kuhakam Satyam Param Dhimahi. So this this actually looks like a purport, but this is a translation of this verse. And devotees, we had to learn this verse and the translation by heart to get through the Bhakti Wave course. So beautiful translation here, how the Lord is actually confirming his position here, right in the beginning of the Bhagavatam. Oh my Lord. So see, we recite Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya every time before a class. So here in the first part of this translation is a meaning of that Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So just listen to it carefully. The meaning is, oh my Lord, Shri Krishna, O Son of Vasudeva, O all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. I meditate upon Lord Shri Krishna because he is the absolute truth. Sorry, the translation was after that. I pay my respectful obeisances unto you. Then he continues, I meditate upon Lord Shri Krishna because he is the absolute truth and the primeval cause of all causes of the creation, sustenance, and destruction of the manifested universes. He is directly and indirectly conscious of all manifestations, and he is independent because there is no other cause beyond him. It is he only who first imparted the Vedic knowledge unto the heart of Brahmaji, the original living being. By him, even the great sages and demigods are placed into illusion, as one is bewildered by the illusory representations of water seen in fire or land seen on water. Only because of him do the material universes temporarily manifested by the reactions of the three modes of nature appear factual, although they are unreal. I therefore meditate upon him, Lord Shri Krishna, who is eternally existent in the transcendental abode, which is forever free from the illusory representations of the material world. I meditate upon him, for he is the absolute truth. Very important verse, establishing Krishna's position as a Supreme Lord and everything emanating from him. Prabhupada continues, the living entities belong to the superior nature as it will be revealed in the 7th chapter. So we can look at that. Think, anybody know 7.5? Talks about this fact that we are superior nature.
Is the beside this Almighty something Arjuna, isn't it? There is another superior energy.
That's the translation. Any chance with Mataji Sanskrit?
Apareyam itastra anyam prakritim vidima param. Is it?
Yes, correct. Can I go on?
Then I don't remember. Is it
Okay,
Jiva
so
Bhutam, Jiva Bhutam Mahabahu.
Mahabaha.
Yedam Dharete Jagat. Yes, something like that.
Well done for remembering it. So besides this, Almighty Arjuna, there is another superior. Oops, my battery is going. 1 second. Let's put this on. Besides this, Almighty Arjuna, there is another superior energy of mind, which comprises the living entities who are exploiting the resources of this inferior material nature. So this verse follows the 7.4, which talks about Bhumi Apo Nano Vayu Kamana Buddha Evacha Ahankariti Yamme Benna Prakriti Astava. Talks about the different elements of material world, material nature. Then he says, but beyond that, actually is a superior energy, which is the living entity. Time is a little bit short, so I'm going to skip the translation here. It's just confirming that what we're saying. So there are three entities: God, the soul, and material energy. Okay, God Himself, the Supreme Lord, the soul, and material energy. So in terms of Sat and Asat, because this verse of today talks about Sat and Asat. So can anybody tell me which of those are Sat and which of those maybe Asat?
The material energy is Asat, living entity is Sat, or eternity, because of the eternity.
God is Sat. God and Palika Mata is saying that the Supreme Lord is Sat, and living entity is Sat, and saying material energy is Asat.
Asat.
Okay. Does anybody agree with that? Anybody disagree?
I think living entity is Asat.
No.
Falguni Mataji, thank you for that input. But no, living entity is Sat. We just discussed that because we are eternal.
Yeah.
So we are
I
Sat.
think God is Sat, isn't it? God is
Sat.
everlasting.
Yeah.
Yes.
God is Sat. Yes. Bhagavati
And
Mataji,
this-
God is Sat. Living entity is Sat. But material energy is also Sat.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is also Sat. What is Asat is not the material energy is Sat, because material energy is the Lord's energy. It cannot be
Yes.
Asat.
Yes.
But what is Asat is the material objects, right? Everything that
okay.
has been created by material energy, that is Asat. But energy itself is not Asat, it is Sat. Because as we know, at the end of the annihilation, at the end of time, when everything is annihilated, then everything around us will be destroyed. All the living entities will go back into Lord Vishnu if they haven't yet made their way back to the spiritual world. And the mountains, the universes, everything will be destroyed, right? But then material energy in the form of Mahat Tattva remains in one corner of the spiritual sky. So in that way, it is Sat as well. So it was a bit of a trick question. All three are Sat.
Is the material energy Maya, Prabhu, isn't it?
Yes, Maya,
So that-
exactly. So that's Krishna's
Okay.
energy. Yeah.
It's
exactly.
all eternal there, yeah.
That's Maya is Krishna's. Maya can be two, right? Is Yoga Maya will be Krishna's eternal energy, internal, and Mahamaya will be external. But both of them are Sat. They are not Asat. That's the point. Yeah. Okay. Moving quickly on to the next one. So, such clear knowledge is impossible to understand under the spell of ignorance. And to drive away such ignorance, the Lord teaches the Bhagavad Gita for the enlightenment of all living entities for all time. Now, Chaturshloki Gita in the 10th chapter speaks about this, right? Text 3 and 3rd and 4th, which is 10 and 11. You should all know Chaturshloki, all of you.
Yeah. It starts with Aham Sarvasya Prabhava Matta Sarvam Papadate Iti Matta Bhujante Mam Buddha Babu Samannita. And then is sorry. Mat Chitta Madgata Prana Buddhayanti Paraspara Kathayantasya Mam Nitta Dushanti Cha Romanchita. Last one I forgot.
10. So 10, so the thing is relevant to what we're talking about now is not 8 and 9, but 10. 10 and 11 are relevant because it talks about removing the ignorance and giving us the knowledge. So 10, anybody know 10? You should all know 10.
Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti-purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam ena
Mam upajayanti te.
Very well, wonderful. Thank you so much, Bhagavati Mataji. And the translation, to those who are constantly devoted to serving with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to. And text 11, anybody?
Tesham yevanukampastam aham ajnanajam
Aham agnajam tama nasayami atma bhavasto gnanadipena bhashvata.
Wonderful. Bhakti Mataji and Prabhavati Mataji both together. Wonderful. And translation. So here, to show the special mercy, I, dwelling in their hearts, destroy with a shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. So this is how the Lord removes the ignorance by speaking the Bhagavad Gita to us. The devotees, I will stop here. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak on this very important verse. And I now request any realizations, any corrections, any questions.
Hare Krishna Mukunda-Hari Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances. Mayavadis, they think they become God because when they're in Maya, so when the Maya is removed, they become God. But if they think that, then how can they merge themselves into the effulgence of Krishna?
So see, thank you, Valika Mataji. So for them, merging in the effulgence, for them, they think that once they merge, then they become God.
Ah.
They think once they're merged with the Lord, then they are the Lord, like that.
But so many people will be merging, so by merging they become God?
Yeah, so they believe that they don't see the difference between the living entity, soul, and the supreme soul. So they think it's only the one soul, and once you are out of Maya, then that soul becomes just the one big soul. That's like that. So they all become one with the Lord. That's what to say.
That's, I mean, it just as a normal thing is just even think like that. It's so wrong. So I don't know how can they be in knowledge, because if they're in knowledge.
Palika Mataji, you saying so right, and we are speaking from the Vaishnava point of view, and to us it does not make sense at all. But you'll be surprised that I would say maybe 60-70% of India is Mayavad, right? So all those people who call they're following religion, but they all are following Mayavad. So if we are Vaishnavas, we are actually a minority.
We are fortunate. We are very fortunate.
Very fortunate. And especially all the Vaishnavas, those who are actually under the shelter of Srila Prabhupada, they're the most fortunate, because Prabhupada has given us the most succinct knowledge. He's by so much hard work, he's translated everything to us to make it so clear.
It is. We're very fortunate. Thank you.
Thank you, Palika Mataji.
But when I was asking, when Krishna beheaded Shishupal, he emerged into Krishna's body. So there is a difference between them, the Mayavadi merging into the effulgence, and then Shishupal merging into Krishna's body. But there is a difference, isn't it? Because Shishupal is eternal. He is eternal. Servant, or he's how would I say? He is associated with Krishna, so he's merging to Krishna's body is very different than the Mayavadi merging into effulgence of the effulgence of impersonal Brahman.
That is correct. When Krishna kills the demons, even Agasur, we know Agasur also entered into Brahma, watched Agasur's soul enter into Krishna's body. Yeah. So because these personalities like Agasur and Shishupal, they are eternal associates of the Lord. Yes. And they come to play a part of a demon in this world. So this is why it's different.
So through them, Krishna wanted us to have some knowledge. Exactly. What he does is all his pastime. So he comes here. So how he annihilate the miscreant, and so through them, because otherwise who could contest with Krishna?
Exactly.
So he brought all of them here to establish that for us to understand.
Totally right. So lots of lessons there for us. Thank you so much. There's a question here from Surabhi Mataji, and says, Hare Krishna, will Mayavadi be a type of atheist? Sorry for ignorance. No, there's no question of ignorance, Mataji. We are all in the same boat. We are all learning, Surabhi Mataji. So Mayavadi, it is a type of atheism because they don't accept the supreme person. You can call them an atheist from that point of view. Yes, they do. They are. See, although they are atheists, but they at the same time, there seems to be a contradiction in terms. But although they are atheists, they are still classified as spiritualists because they are looking for something superior. They are not like the normal atheists would reject everything to do with spirituality and just wallow in the material world, in their material life. Whereas the Mayavadis, they're one step ahead of those. They are trying to get away also from this entanglement of Maya and the material world. But their path is they have chosen a path which, as far as we are concerned, doesn't make sense. So they have a path which is leading them to merging with the effulgence of the Lord. Whereas our final destination is to be with the Lord, to serve Him in different capacities, and to enjoy the spiritual world with the Lord, not become the Lord. So this is the difference between the two. I hope that makes sense, Surabhi Mataji.
Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Anyone else?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Falguni Mataji.
Prabhuji, sorry, pardon my ignorance. Sorry, I just put a question on the chat actually. My humble opinion says, I just wanted to ask when you mentioned that when Lord Krishna mentioned that except for the Pandavas, both the side of the soldiers will be slain. Why the soldiers of the Pandavas would be affected the same way as the soldiers of the Kaurava?
Yes, so this is a very good question, Falguni Mataji. See, what is happening here is that even the soldiers on the Pandava side, see, soldiers on the opposite side, we can easily understand. They're taking the side of the opposition, that they take the side of adharma. So they would be slain, right? But the piety said that when this kind of war happens, especially a dharma yuddha, and then there is individual karma and there's collective karma. So even the soldiers on the Pandava sides, they had, due to their past, not this particular action that they were doing, not the war, they were fighting on the side of Arjuna and Pandava. So they were not doing anything wrong at that time. But due to some of their previous past actions, they were also to die. So this happened to be one big reason to get all of them together and get that done in one go, kind of thing. Right. So collective karma.
Right. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Falguni Mataji. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Mukunda-Hari, Prabhu. Just a small question.
Yeah.
You know, at the beginning, Krishna was saying to Arjuna, so if you die in this battlefield, you will go to Sargaloka. That's the way, because it's a pious activity. So, because though Arjuna is the eternal servant, but as an example, Krishna says, if you die in this battlefield, you will go to the Sarga. So all these soldiers who are dying in this battlefield, will they all go to Sargaloka?
So yes, so the Kshatriyas, when they die in the battlefield, they get promoted to the higher planets. So they would have all gone to the Svargalokas. But then also there is another factor to this, that these soldiers are dying in front of Krishna, right? So in one sense, you can say that although generally speaking, see, when Krishna was speaking to Arjuna about that was very early on in the Bhagavad Gita, right? So Krishna has put Arjuna into complete ignorance at the time. So he's speaking to him almost like a karma yogi, like okay, you do your duty as a Kshatriya, and then the result will be either you win the kingdom and you'll be happy, or you lose the kingdom and you go to the heavenly planets. That is a fact. But then, as you know, Krishna will then, through the Bhagavatam, bring him higher and higher and higher, give him higher and higher knowledge, taking away from the karma yoga to bhakti yoga. And when you're at the bhakti yoga stage and you leave your body thinking of Krishna, then you are not going to go to heavenly planets, you're going to go to the spiritual world. So here, in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 8, text 5 says, Antakale chamam eva smaran mukta kalevaram yah prayati samad bhavam nasti yatyatna asamshaya. So whoever, at the end of his life, thinks about me, Krishna says, then he will come back to me, right? Now, that's his guarantee. So, let alone thinking about him, if you are dying in front of him, right, while Krishna is present there in the battlefield, and you're dying, then you're bound to go to the spiritual world. So in that sense, you can say that they're probably all delivered.
Yes. Thank you.
There's another question here from Indira Mataji. It says, 1 second. So there are so many sanghas and gurus, sadhus and gurus in India. They all come across, they know it all, but I don't believe they have the knowledge that Gita offers. Exactly, such a good point you're making, Indira Mataji. See, even people who are supposedly preaching Bhagavad Gita, they will be preaching it from their angle. So you would probably, if you switch on Asta TV, I don't know if it's still going on or what. I used to listen, we look at it a long time ago, worship them a long time ago. So there you will find somebody speaking on the Gita, and his message will be completely different. Because Bhagavad Gita Sanskrit verses can be translated. You can use one word and have so many different meanings, and they will actually construe a meaning out of the verse to satisfy their particular philosophy. But you're right, they are misleading. There's so many. This was what Prabhupada used to always say. One main reason Prabhupada translated this Bhagavad Gita was that, because Prabhupada actually didn't want to start with the Bhagavad Gita. He started with Bhagavatam. First of all, he did many small books. Then he did the Bhagavatam. And then when he was in America, there was an American lady who came and asked her, Swamiji, when I went to the library, there are quite a few different translations of Bhagavad Gita. Which one should I read? The Prabhupada said, okay, I'll have a look. He went and had a look, and he realized that all those translations that he was looking at were from impersonal Mayavadi point of view. So he said, no, in that case, I don't read any of those. I will translate myself. And he started translating this in America. And that's why he's called it Bhagavad Gita as it is, right? Because, Bhagavad Gita from a Mayavadi point of view will give you a Mayavadi philosophy. Bhagavad Gita from a scholar's point of view will give you some nonsense. But Bhagavad Gita from a pure devotee will give you devotion. That's how it is. And this is why, and the proof is this, Indira Mataji. The proof of the pudding is there. All those different, there's more than 600 different English translations of the Bhagavad Gita. Now, I'm not saying that every one of them is bad or misleading, but the vast majority of them are misleading. And all of them put together have not made even a handful of devotees. But this one Bhagavad Gita as it is by Srila Prabhupada, has made thousands of Westerners into practicing Vaishnavas. So this is the power and the potency of this Bhagavad Gita. We're all sitting here, we all relishing it every evening, because the message is so pure and it is changing our lives. I have my own personal experience, completely changed my life 180 degrees. Nothing else I was reading before was doing that to me. So we have recognized the potency of this movement that Prabhupada has given us. Thank you for raising that.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Right, devotees, it's 10 to 9. So I think it's time to close. Once again, thank you all so much for making time and joining these sessions every evening. And do look after yourselves. Shri Prabhupada ki jai, vancha kalpatarubhya Prabhupada ki jai.
Krishna, thank you so much.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you.